2010, a car company that had never mass produced a single vehicle bought a 5 million square foot factory that two of the biggest automakers on earth had abandoned. They paid $42 million for a plant that cost over $1 billion to build. Everyone said that Elon Musk was buying a corpse. What he actually bought was a battlefield, and he turned it into a war machine. This is the Fremont Factory Resurrection. Hello, I'm Todd Hagopian, the original Stagnation Assassin. Today we are opening the vault on Tesla's acquisition and transformation of the Fremont Factory in 2010. The moment that a startup with zero manufacturing experience took the hollowed out shell of the NUMMI plant and attempted to build the future of automotive production. Was this a strategic slaughter or a stagnation suicide? Let's crack the case. The Fremont plant itself gets a stagnation score of 10 out of 10, maximum corporate cancer. This was a facility that had been jointly operated by General Motors and Toyota under the NUMMI partnership. And when that partnership dissolved, GM walked away, Toyota walked away, and 4,700 people lost their jobs. The building was a rotting monument to Detroit's decisive decline. Weeds growing through the parking lot, equipment rustling, a 5 million square foot ghost. Tesla, as a company, was different. Pre Fremont, Tesla was a stagnation score of 3. They had vision, ambition, but almost zero operational infrastructure. They were all gas pedal, no chassis. So let's run the hot system on this acquisition. Honest, objective, transparent data evaluation. Because the numbers here tell a story that emotion never could. Here's the honest read. Tesla was a startup with no manufacturing track record, buying one of the largest auto plants in North America. On paper, that's corporate suicide. Every MBA on the planet would have flagged that as overreach. The objective read, the Fremont plant had a replacement cost north of $1 billion. Tesla acquired it for $42 million. They inherited massive stamping presses that would have cost hundreds of millions of dollars to purchase new. Stripped of that narrative, stripped of the bias, the math was devastating in Tesla's favor. This was a battlefield bargain of generational proportions. While GM saw a graveyard and Toyota saw a former partner's problem, Tesla saw the spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet screamed, buy. The transparent read, Tesla had no playbook for this. They admitted it. And that honesty, that willingness to say, we don't know what we're doing yet, but the asset is too cheap to ignore, is the kind of transparent tenacity that separates stagnation assassins from corporate politicians who need 12 committees and a consultant army before they buy a printer. Now here's where orthodoxy smashing innovation enters the kill zone. Tesla didn't hire a fleet of consultants to implement lean manufacturing by the textbook. They didn't try to replicate the Toyota production system like every other automaker on the planet would have. They took what worked, incinerated what didn't, and built their own production methodology from the ashes. Every incumbent would have genuflected at the altar of Toyota. Tesla torched the altar, and they built a new one. That is sacred cow slaughter at an industrial scale. And the 70% rule was the engine behind everything. Tesla's early production at Fremont, it was messy. It was chaotic. Quality issues were rampant. Elon Musk himself was sleeping on the factory floor during production ramps, but they were shipping. They were getting the Model S out the door while legacy automakers were still debating whether electric vehicles were even viable. Execution at speed beats perfection at a standstill every single time. And they didn't wait for a flawless process. They launched at 70% readiness and fixed the remaining 30% in motion, while their competitors sat in conference rooms polishing PowerPoints that would never see a production line. Underneath all of it was grandiose goal setting at a level that borders on clinical. Musk didn't say, let's build some electric cars. He said, let's make this the most productive auto plant in North America. And that level of ambition, that hypomanic audacity, is what separates operators from observers. You don't resurrect a dead factory with modest targets. You resurrect it with monstrous mandates. So let's look at the hindsight homicide, though. Some things went wrong. The fatal flaw, and this is well documented, was the over-automation gamble. Musk himself admitted on Twitter that excessive automation at Fremont was a mistake. They tried to automate processes that humans just do better, and it caused massive production bottlenecks during the Model 3 ramp. The alien dead note concept, a fully automated factory with no humans, was grandiose goal setting that crossed the line into the delusional territory. This is where the 80-20 matrix of profitability delivers the postmortem punch. Tesla failed to identify the vital few versus the vampire many. Not every process on the factory floor carried equal weight. The 80-20 matrix would have told them to automate the 20% of processes where robots deliver dominant returns, the repetitive, precision-critical tasks where machines just massacre human error rates, and keep the human hands on the 80% where flexibility and judgment and adaptive problem-solving are the profit multipliers in the process. Instead, they carpet bombed the entire line with automation, and the line bombed back. The profit parasite was automation arrogance, the belief that technology can replace human judgment in every process. They eventually had to rip out some of the robots and replace them with people, and that cost time, money, and even credibility. It was a costly correction, born from ignoring the fundamental math of where value actually lives on the factory floor. And so even the best turnarounds have a homicide that we need to take a look at. Tesla did take a dead factory and they resurrected it on a shoestring budget, used it to build the car that proved electric vehicles were viable, and eventually turned Fremont into one of the highest output auto plants in America. The execution was messy, it was even chaotic, and at times borderline reckless, but it was also brilliant. They get a kill rating of 4 out of 5 kills. The automation debacle and the production hell of the Model 3 ramp costs a full kill. But the strategic vision, buying $1 billion asset for $42 million and using it to disrupt a century-old industry, that is stagnation assassination at a world-class level. If you're looking at distressed assets in your industry and seeing problems instead of possibilities, you're thinking like GM in 2009 and not like Tesla in 2010. Change that. Head to toddhagopian.com and stagnationassassins.com. Pick up a copy of The Unfair Advantage. And as always, continue to declare war on stagnation.